Are you taping? Okay, now we're going to start with knocking it round. Okay, so it's very, very important that you don't have any excess solder. So you saw I buggered up the solder. You need to practice so that you don't end up doing that. So now if you notice, I'm cleaning that solder, and if you can see my file, I've got it on the D-shape section, because if I go like this, I'm going to file. You see there it's shiny now? I don't want to file the wedding band. I just want to take the solder off. So, and it's important here that you don't overfile it either. Okay. Now, if you don't take the solder off and you hammer it, the solder is going to go into the metal and you're going to have a different color. The solder is not the same color as your solder. When it's on a nice neat line like that, you won't see it. But if you knock that into the metal, it's not good for the metal. Okay. Now the amount of filing you do here, it's a smooth file, should not change the thickness of the band. That will definitely be the same thickness. Then I go on the inside, and there's normally a little lip there from the fraying of the metal. And again here, that filing that I did there is really just scratching the surface. It's not doing anything. Okay, now we're ready for hammering, for making it round. Okay, so now most of you have been taught at varsity to hit this around with a mallet. Okay, I don't allow mallets in my workshop. I think they're pathetic. Especially when you're working with 9 carat or yellow, or actually any gold really, a mallet is not strong enough. So you might be able to change the shape of a silver ring, but you're definitely not going to change the shape of a gold ring. And it's very, very important that the inside of your ring is perfectly round. So I'm going to teach you how to hammer on a silver ring. In that way you will know how to do gold jewelry. Okay, so this has marks here of N to O, but right now we're not worrying about the finger size. If we cut it too big and it's too big, we're going to size it down, which is fine. It's what you do. Right now we first get the ring round, then we worry about the size. Okay, so the important things to know is, as you can see here, my bench has got a huge indentation. That's after years of working. But you just start somewhere. Okay, so it's got a nice thing. I put the mandrel in my little fat rolls here in my stomach, and I make a little vise. Okay, so now my mandrel is in a vise and I'm able to turn it, and it's in one place, it's not going to move. Okay, with my 2 fingers I'm going to hold the ring, and then I'm going to use my hammer. Now this is a jeweler's hammer, and as you can see here, it's highly polished. I see it's got some indentations. This should be the better condition the hammer is in, the better the finish of your ring. So it's important that you sandpaper with 220, 1000 sandpaper, and give it a polish, so that when you're hammering, whatever marks are on here are going to go onto the ring. Okay, now the other thing is, if you leave this on the mandrel like that and you tap it, it's first going to go a little bit at an angle, because the mandrel's at an angle, so it's going to be like that. So you want the ring to stay parallel. So the best thing to do is to lift the ring just a little bit away, like not even like a millimeter away, so that it is loose. Okay, then you start at your solder joint, you tuck your elbow in over here. Okay, and you place your hammer like this in this thing. Now I want to show you something. If I take a hammer and I look at you, okay, all right, so can you see, go a little bit back so you can see. So let's say I want to hammer this spot here on the corner here, right? So if I'm going like this and I look away, you see it's not staying in the same place. Okay, but if I tuck my elbow in here and I put everything like a lock position, and I put my hammer there and I just move my hand up and down, okay, can you see I'm looking at you? Is it staying in the same place, Tabu?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and I don't know what I'm doing. So what I'm trying to say is, don't look away, but if you lock everything together and you do this with your hammer, you're going to get, you're not going to end up getting these facets that are like that. Because ideally what you want to do is you want to tap the entire surface of the ring and get straight lines. Okay, so we're going to move around and we're going to go from the solder joint to the solder joint. So we tuck our elbow in, get a nice position, we tap a little bit to make sure, and we start hammering. Now when I'm hammering, you can actually see the shiny section. The hammer's hitting there and there, and can you see there's no big facets here? Okay, so when you're learning, you'll probably find that you'll have these facets, makes it look like a hammer finished ring. You don't want that. You want to be able to hit the whole surface in one shot. You're not hitting it hard because it's silver. You're going to get used to it, and eventually when you're in 9 carat, you're going to have to hit hard to get it. Okay, so especially when you're making a 2.5 millimeter thick wedding band. Okay, so we're going to tap this thing around now. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but my lines are going, I'm not tapping one side of the ring, they're going right through the ring, almost like a straight line. Can you see that? And I stop at the solder joint. Now I turn it around, and I do what I do to the one side, I do to the other side. Okay, and that's with everything you do on your jewelry. What you do to the one side, you do to the other side. Okay, so we've tapped it once around this way, now we're going to tap it around the other way. Okay. Okay, and now if you have a look at that, can you see the polished lines are pretty straight? Can you see that? And the way to check this is if you put it on the thing like this and you roll it forward, it should roll straight. Okay, now can you see it's wobbling a little bit? You see that? It shouldn't wobble, it should go dead straight. Okay, but look at this. Look how round that is. Okay, I'm going to put it on the mandrel, and I'm going to look down there. Can you see the gaps all the way? Now that's how you check if a ring is round. Okay, the gap's the same all the way around. You see that? Now that took me not even a minute to tap it around. On a mallet you'll still be knocking. Okay, I'm going to check our finger size because we didn't measure the length, and I'm about a half a size too small. Can you see that? Okay, so now we're going to size it up a half a size. Okay, and I promise you this will not change the thickness of the band. Now is when you need to know how to hammer with strength. So after you've been practicing, guys, and you get that thing perfect, then you can start hammering a bit harder. Okay, so now I'm going to hammer nice and hard because I want to get it a half a size bigger. Notice that my arm is not moving, just my hand, and I'm holding the hammer at the bottom, not at the top. I'm using the hammer, the weight of this, to hammer the ring. Okay, I'll go back around. Well, what I do to the one side, I do to the other side. Okay, now I'm going to put this on a metal block here, and I'm going to tap all the way around from the solder joint to the solder joint. So it's very organized. It's not just tap it, because you don't want to tap one side more than the other side. Now you might find that I'm being a little bit ridiculous, but when you're working on other pieces, if you carry on with this, especially like small collets and stuff, and you use the same technique, because everything is a wedding band. If you're making a setting for a little diamond, it's a tiny little wedding band. Okay, so everything is a wedding band, and you've got to learn to make this first perfectly, then everything else is easy. Okay, so we check our size again, and Bernard made it a half a size too big. Okay, see there? Okay, and that's because I hit it too hard. So I haven't made a wedding band for about 4 years, so I didn't need to hit it that hard. Okay, anyway, I'm going to size it down now. To get the size, I'm going to cut through there, cut a little section in, close it. And this is also important because you guys are probably going to happen to you quite a lot. First thing I'm going to do is, well, I actually don't need to mark it because I can see my solder joint. So I'm just doing a better mark for myself. I keep this nice and parallel. Important again, and this is quite nice because it shows you how to size a ring as well. Down. Cut through it. Make sure it stays straight. Open your dividers. Now there is a measurement for one size or half a size. I actually don't know what it is. Maybe you can Google that and check what it is, and then you can just make your dividers the right size and cut it. I'm just going by eye now. my ring bending pliers and just slowly bend it around because I don't want to change the shape too much. I do to the one side, I do to the other side. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a different way to solder. You put it like that, sometimes it's easier. Then the other way, because you use gravity to pull the thing down. Got my things again. Okay, so obviously you guys know that you need to use flux to stop the oxidation of the silver so that it gets a nice joint. If you don't use flux, the solder won't attach because it oxidizes. And again, we heat up the whole ring. Getting nice and red. And there we go. You see that? Shot. And the nice thing about doing it here is your excess solder is on the side, not on the top. So now you won't need to file so much on the top. Okay. So it's probably nicer to move it on the side. Where's my tweezers? Okay, we're going to put this in the acid. So you can stop the video and we'll start again.